DeShaun Foster wants all the smoke from getting Nico Iamaleava to UCLA.
You are Locked On UCLA, your daily podcast on the UCLA Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to this edition of the Locked On UCLA podcast. I'm your host, Zach Anderson-Yoxsimer. Thanks for making this show your first listen each and every day. It's free wherever you get your podcast, and it's available on YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe, download. Thanks for your support. It's your team every day. This episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Well, where we get started today, UCLA. DeShaun Foster making his first public comments since UCLA was able to secure the official commitment of Nico. Madden, we'll talk about that in a moment later in the show. Not official. It's still a work in progress, but that's the expectation. So UCLA goes out and gets Nico Iamaleava. All right, the number one quarterback in the portal, something that stunned everybody considering UCLA has an endless array of quarterbacks that are unproven in their own locker room prior to them getting Joey Aguilar in the portal. So they literally already went out and got a quarterback in the transfer portal. That's a story we've already told. DeShaun came out, and basically from his comments, he said, paraphrasing, but I believe I'm going to quote him accurately here. Well, there's a number one quarterback, number one player in the portal. That's something we had to do. So he felt like they had to act on it. He kept repeatedly saying, this is a local guy, a local guy, a local guy. Okay, so that kind of tells you the methodology for what DeShaun Foster is trying to do, what he's trying to put out there. At the end of his press conference, at the end of his media availability, talked about his ability, the team's ability to be buzzworthy, not BuzzFeed, but be in the news, be buzz, have a lot of people there, be in the news, be talked about, have some haters. He wants the smoke. He says, bring it on. We have to make some moves that people don't like. I've been on the record already saying, all right, they should stay away. DeShaun says, I don't care. And early on when he had his debacle at Big Ten Media Days, all right, I always said, let his actions speak for his words. This is not the loudest guy. He's not the most loquacious fella talking to the media. It doesn't seem like he's the most comfortable in that setting, but he somehow, maybe not somehow, he connects with the team. UCLA, for no reason, after having a terrible start last year, should have come on strong at the end of the year, but they did. They stayed together, regardless of who stayed, regardless of who left. They came together and played for their coach. They gave him the love, and they had a respectable finish to the end of the 2024 season, all right? A game here or there, and they could have gone bowling to end 2024. But against a tough schedule, they were respectful against the competition. They were ready to go. Then UCLA goes out and makes a spring portal splash. And what DeShaun's trying to bring to the UCLA program is some NFL tendencies. He's like, dude, they were recruiting running backs every year as here. They were recruiting running backs. They were drafting running backs when I was in the NFL every year. It's a competition sport. You go look in the NFL, you see quarterbacks brought in to compete with this dude. All right, go win the job. All right. It's not like you have your role in the sport. You got to go win your time in the receiver room, in the running back room, on the O-line, the quarterback room, on the defensive side of the ball, even in special teams. Everything from top to bottom is a battle until your starting spot is secured. And you still got to make sure you're playing well enough. You're reading a report. You're growing as a player to secure that spot. So what DeShaun Foster had to say, he really wants the smoke. This is an opportunity. I like the kid. I like the intangibles. He wants all of that, and he brought in Nico, all right? Now, he didn't really touch on the official dealings. He didn't really touch, all right, this is what we're throwing out there. It's a contract. I don't read everything. I'm not going to believe in the hoopla, but I want it here at UCLA. And that's his vision. The vision, I think, is something that every UCLA fan should want. Now, did I expect it to come in the form of Nico to UCLA, bring in the Iamaleavas, you bring in all this battle? Okay. It's a unique position for UCLA to be in, where I think some of the country is like, dude, what's going on? Some people are like, oh, UCLA's fun. This is entertaining. And here we are as UCLA fans, people who follow the team and are just like, I don't know if I wanted the smoke in this way with this players, however it's going to work out, watching Joey Aguilar leave to go to Tennessee, right? This has been a unique set of circumstances, but UCLA is playing to win. They're playing with the money that they're trying to use from Big Ten media rights, from the new conference, from everything. They are trying to make people and want people in the Rose Bowl. And if you win, And if UCLA is successful and DeShaun Foster is tying his coaching tenure to these two kids, in Nico and potentially Madden, but at least Nico right now, because at least the beginning of his tenure, if he gets to keep going deeper into his coaching contract, it will be tied to how well this Nico deal plays out. Is it a year? Is it 2 years? Do they keep Nico for more than a year? I'm not sure. I know I was on Locked On College Football earlier in the day on a different episode on that channel, and I'm not sure if he's going to stick around for more than 1 year, Nico, whether it's somewhere else, whether it's whatever it looks like, those are all unknowns. But DeShaun Foster is swinging for the here and now. The Bruins have the attention. They have the eyeballs. And with him continuing to talk about the local talent, this is where I want to tie in. Did UCLA win this QB trade with Tennessee, right? There's 4 components of the QB trade that went on. You have the UCLA side, the Tennessee side, and the individual side of Nico and in Joey Aguilar. I think there's a clear winner. I think Joey Aguilar, after a bit of unknown, he wins. He gets some NIL deals from the SEC going to Tennessee. He is most likely going to start, I would think, under Josh Heupel with his, offensive genius to lead what was last year a 2024 playoff team. And I don't think the Tennessee fans will get mad at him regardless of how he plays. You've got Nico with all the scrutiny, all the eyeballs. Is there more pressure with him going to UCLA, or is there less? You could argue there's more pressure, but there's less expectations at UCLA than there were at Tennessee. That's just the nature of the beast. There's less expectations after a year when one team went to the playoff, and here we are in year 2, technically still finishing the first full year of DeShaun Foster at UCLA into his second season as head coach. Nico's a unique deal, and people joke about the taxes. They talk about the expectations of a $4 million deal. Did he get more? Did he get less at UCLA? Maybe Nico financially didn't get that opportunity, but he's playing closer to home, playing closer to family, and he's playing at UCLA, and he's still going to be the clear-cut number 1 heading into fall camp, all right? So as much as he might have taken a step down, did he lose that much? If you're looking directly at financial compensation, then you would say he lost the deal. But in the end, still playing quarterback, big eyeballs, big conference, big name school in Los Angeles area, entertainment. Then you bring in the school for school grading system. I'm not sure whether, it's an A, a B, whatever. The Bruins swung for the fences and Tennessee got left. I think Tennessee, certainly, they're not going to be horrible with Joey Aguilar. I think he could go out and play really well. He can manage the system. I'm not entirely sure how Josh Heupel is going to do it. But they definitely, I think, lost more than UCLA. Now, did the Bruins, quote unquote, sell their soul? Did they, make a commitment and then go commit to somebody else? Is it how free agency works in the NFL and all professional sports? You have to recruit, right? They have a bunch of quarterbacks on the roster. Here, they got this commit forced. Okay, they could still be recruiting in the next year. But the Bruins went out. They saw the best player in the portal. And I'm not sure how many times in football can the Bruins go out and get at the quarterback position, a top-tier player in the portal, and say, we're going to make it happen financially. We're going to make it happen so that you can come here and transfer from an SEC school to UCLA when you're just a playoff starter. And now you're coming to start at UCLA. All right. Now, the optics, how I feel about it, with all the potential of a circus, all the extracurriculars, I'm not sure. But the Bruins, if you're looking at an on-the-field only improvement, they're going to probably maybe shake out a little bit better than Tennessee at the quarterback position. That remains to be seen. Is it a great divide? Is it a great shift of balance? No, it's a whole team-wide sport. But I think the Bruins somewhat won the QB trade. Joey Aguilar went from the Sun Belt to the SEC. I think he's winning. Nico, in a sense, got what he wanted. UCLA made their swing. And Tennessee, they're not hurting. They still got a starting quarterback who's a veteran on a 1-year rental while they can develop their youngsters, their quarterbacks in their own program. And it'll be just entertainment to watch all season long. I'm leaning UCLA won the QB trade. Doesn't mean that Tennessee's that far off. It's not horrible, but, it was an official trade because Tennessee is like, well, you want all this. We're going to say goodbye to you, Nico. It's fun to entertain. Next, we'll talk about what the QB future looks like for UCLA post-Nico, or how many years is Nico going to stay? I kind of hinted at that, but is it the Iamaleavas for 3, 4, 2? How many years do we realistically think that this will go on with DeShaun Foster at UCLA? All that and more next on Locked On UCLA. There's nothing like the atmosphere of an NBA playoff game. Every bucket, every defensive stop, every moment feels huge. It's electric in the arena with Game Time. You can be a part of it without the stress of that last-minute ticket hunting. You're like, man, I want to go here. Which side? No, just go to Game Time. It's fast and easy to get those playoff tickets. The demand is sky high right now, obviously. But the prices on this app go down as tip-off gets closer. Last-minute deals can save you up to 60%. Reasons to use Game Time. When I was trying to go see the in-season tournament in New York, I got great deals, a great deal on some great seats at Madison Square Garden, arguably the best arena in all of the NBA. And, it's not easy to get a ticket out there for the New York Knicks when they're good. I use Game Time, and I got a great deal. So this is why you take the guesswork out of buying tickets. With Game Time, you download the app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE, Locked On College for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, cruising on here at Locked On UCLA. All right, here we go. Well, technical difficulties there. Cruising on, second segment. What does the QB future look like? Well, if you missed the last episode of Locked On UCLA, I kind of broke it down to what the expectation is. Not 90% of it is official. Let's go down to it. So Nico to UCLA is official. The UCLA football, they emailed everybody. They sent it out and said, hey, let's roll. Nico's there. Now, were there some eyes being like, wait, is he wearing the 8? Is he wearing the Troy Aikman? DeShaun Foster somewhat clarified, we're just making a graphics. We're just making a graphic with a graphics team. Who knows what number the kid's going to wear? Is he going to wear the 8? I don't know. All right. So we don't know what that feature in terms of the number being used again with UCLA. Okay. Now, after Nico, who is currently a rising redshirt sophomore, he's going to finish his classes at Tennessee. And if you're wondering how long it's going to take, Tennessee finishes classes in the next 2 or so weeks. They have a fairly early final schedule, which means maybe Nico can just immediately shift over into the UCLA quarter system in a summer class, lean into August, but then he has to learn the offense. So do you really want him taking classes to get started at UCLA, or would you rather start with every UCLA student, which is not till late September, week 3 or week 4? What Nico has to do is finish classes. So the funny thing for Nico, maybe not funny, but a unique thing, Tennessee is on the semester system. UCLA is on the quarter system. He finishes his semester at Tennessee. So he can't do anything officially with UCLA until he's done at Tennessee, and then works his way officially with the paperwork and becomes a UCLA Bruin. So he'll be done very soon with Tennessee, classes and everything. Now, I'm not sure if that means he needs to take a summer class. If not, I'm not sure if that's beyond that. But if all he has to do currently is a redshirt freshman, so he's been through 2 years of schooling at the University of Tennessee in Knoxville, he finishes that early, he'll be done much sooner and can be in Southern California, just relaxing, moved back in, and prepared for the 2025 season much sooner than the rest of these kids, because they're going from the early part of the quarter. That's why UCLA has a much later spring practice than some of these other teams who have already had spring games, who've already finished or at nearing the conclusion of their spring football practice window. UCLA, they still got school till, mid-June? I don't have the academic calendar in front of me. I don't have it memorized, but it's much later because they start much later with the quarter system and end later than the semester system does. So when you're looking at the immediate future, Nico, 2 more weeks of classes just about. I looked at their academic calendar, and then he can come back home, prepare to move to Los Angeles, to Westwood, and become the UCLA Bruin expected starter in 2025. Where it gets dicey, though, is did UCLA find a way to negotiate a multi-year deal? Is there an agreement between DeShaun and Nico's representation? There's been no reports of that. I don't even think they can do that at this moment. Although that would have been wise for the Bruins to make sure, hey, we would love to have you for 2 years and not just turn into another transfer next year. The one thing if Nico balls out and goes into the NFL draft, that's one thing. If Tino Sunseri unleashes Nico's full potential at UCLA in 2025, then I think the Bruins won't have any problem going after anybody in the portal, after anybody in the high school recruiting game. But Nico would still have 2 years of eligibility after that. It would be to transfer, stay, or go to the NFL draft. All those options are available for Nico after the next 3 seasons. Okay, so this is going to be a year in, year out question mark until Nico decides to go pro if he's ready in the NFL draft, if all the experts, the scouts say he's ready, if he feels ready, or he can go back to the SEC next year and get a big buck. I'm not entirely sure in that situation. Spencer and I have Locked On College Football. We put the over-under about 1.5 years. I'm leaning 1. Wouldn't be surprised if it's 2. Very, very, very unlikely if it's 3 years. I doubt he spends 5 years in college football and that he replays his remaining 3 seasons all at UCLA. I do not see that happening, and I don't think that's the game plan. He has the eligibility. We've seen guys utilize all their eligibility, want to get all the NIL possible. I think Nico will be ready at some point to move on one way or another after a year or 2. And I would think most likely that'd be the NFL draft. Where that puts into question is what's next. If you missed the last episode, if you've been all out of sorts, confused, Madden Iamaleava, the one-time UCLA commit turned Arkansas signee, now transferring to UCLA. It's not officially official, so DeShaun Foster did not comment on it. It's not signed, sealed, and delivered. It's expected, I believe, on Threes posted about it. I've seen Rivals post about it. It's expected. It's not official. He still had to get his way into the portal and then become an official UCLA Bruin. It should be much easier for Madden to transition to UCLA because he was an early enrollee at Arkansas, probably not expecting to play in his freshman year. So however long it takes, I'm not sure it should take too long. And with him already a UCLA commit for a very long time, even with him switching high schools, I don't think it'd be too crazy for him to get there. Even if he's a late enrollee, late signee, you still have so many quarterbacks behind Nico in this class that it'd be okay if Madden's there a little bit later, as he still needs time to develop. I'm not sure he's ready to be he would not be a year 1 starter to the level of Nico, his older brother. So redshirt year would be fine, and that would put him another 4 years. Do I think that Nico and Madden could stay for a combined 3 years? In my mind, if it's a 3-year window, that would put Nico at 1 and Madden for 2 years if he's ready to be the starting quarterback after Nico presumably leaves after his redshirt sophomore year. This is all hypothetical, wondering what the future looks like. Or at least you have a succession plan in place with still high school recruiting and everything in place after that. The one thing that is important for DeShaun Foster and what he kept referring to in his press conference, local talent, local talent, local talent. UCLA does not have to leave their own backyard to technically recruit nationally, right? You can go get some of the biggest and best offensive linemen. You can go get some of the biggest and best defensive linemen, quarterbacks, running backs, any position you want. You can get somebody who's got at least 4 or 5 stars or a developing 3-star or a rising unsung hero in the works to become a UCLA Bruin. Now, it's not going to be the same walk-on to superstar story like a Carson Schlesinger with the roster caps, and you can't just have a bazillion walk-ons anymore. UCLA can go get talent. So getting Madden, getting Nico represents UCLA saying, hey, we want to bring the kids back home to the West Coast, bring them to SoCal, they should stay here, and signals to the rest of the West Coast, we will go after the best talent in SoCal. We will go up and down this coast. Maybe it's to Seattle, maybe it's in Oregon, maybe it's in California, maybe it's just in the mountain states. UCLA can just go in their own backyard, drive to all the southern section schools, drive to all the city section schools, drive to wherever there is 1 to 2 freakish athletes, super talented football players, and find the future, which right now looks like a Nico to Madden transition. Madden, not officially official, I think, at this moment, but it's working that way to 90 to 95% official. I know the last show I talked about maybe Robert McDaniel being on his way into the portal, according to Bruin Report Online. DeShaun Foster said no, that does not seem to be happening, but McDaniel was, I believe, at spring practice in the most recent practice, so that doesn't look like it's happening at the moment. That's one of those guys Tino brought in with his connection to replace the decommitment and flip for Madden Iamaleava in this most recent high school recruiting class. Now, in the end, they can do all this, and someone can rise out of nowhere and become the starting quarterback, be the hero, be the leader that nobody expected, with Tino as the offensive mind and a new quarterback coming in. This could be all for fun, which is why you should be here with Locked On UCLA. Like, comment, subscribe, download, and Tell me your thoughts. What do you think of the Iamaleava succession plan in place with how it looks right now for UCLA? Meanwhile, for the UCLA women, they had a big recruit they're trying to bring home to UCLA to shore up maybe some inefficiencies in recent years to try and win a national championship. And some of their former players have found new homes. Where? We'll tell you next on Locked On UCLA. Baseball season is in full swing, and there's no better way to get into the action than with Prize Picks, the best place for daily fantasy sports. Prize Picks, you pick more or less than at least 2 player projections, and if you're right, you can win up to 1,000 times your cash, whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, or first inning runs. Prize Picks keeps every game exciting, and this week, maybe you're looking at Aaron Judge for more than 1 home run, or maybe Shohei Ohtani, fresh off having his first child. Hey, maybe you want 1 or more stolen base for Shohei Ohtani. All you got to do, pick more or less. It's that simple. Download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONCollege. Get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, that's code LOCKEDONCollege for $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. All right, here we go. Wrapping things up, talking UCLA women's basketball. It's been a unique offseason, seeing 6 players leave the program. An entire freshman class is gone. UCLA does have the bulk of their talent returning, and they have a key official visit either underway, already done, or in the works with the decision process being made. So let's start with the heartbreak. All right, so 2 UCLA players, 2 of the bigger players. You have Janiah Barker, Big Ten Sixth Player of the Year, one-time starter at Texas A&M, one of the biggest recruits in the class of 2022, transferred to UCLA for a season, has officially become a Tennessee Lady Vol. Transferred, a Georgia kid, going a little closer to home than compared to Los Angeles. Barker, who had an article written about her talking about how she wanted to be someone willing to take that lesser role at UCLA to win. In the end, it didn't work out at UCLA, so she goes to Tennessee. Speaking of all the trades from UCLA to Tennessee for certain players, getting a talented player. This is the Tennessee team that beat UConn at home in Knoxville. In one of the biggest arenas all around college sports, they beat UConn. And that's the team who dominated their way to a national championship, and Tennessee beat them this year. And Tennessee was not a top 10 team. They're about a top 15 team this year. Barker, who should probably, with a return to the SEC, get a much bigger role, different role than at UCLA, and expect the ball in her hands a lot more. She finds her way to the SEC. Now, what I thought was heartbreaking and crushing was Londynn Jones turning around, going across town to USC. She announced on her own Instagram page, and I think ESPN had the rumors and the sources of it first, that Londynn Jones transferred to Instagram. Now, this is a team in USC that's already losing some of their best players. Juju Watkins has the ACL injury, so she will be out for a very long time. Not sure when she will return, but it'll be tough to see Londynn Jones walk across in the Galen Center with the USC on her jersey. It's just sad because this is somebody who set the UCLA three-point record for made threes in a year in 23-24 and also shot 36% a year ago. This season, shot 35%. Felt like a UCLA Bruin for life. It felt like that was the case. This class of 22, building, growing, was going to get UCLA to that first NCAA Final Four, to win that first NCAA championship in women's college basketball in the NCAA era, since it sponsored women's college basketball. And unfortunately, that's not where the case is. That's not where the story ends. She will finish her collegiate career with USC. It sucks in terms of, all right, loyalty and everything. I'm not going to get into that whole conversation right now. But the fact that it was USC, it felt like it hurt, but we wish her the best of luck. And I think she'll have a fun opportunity playing for Coach Gottlieb on the other side of town. And it'll spice up the rivalry a lot when UCLA hosts USC this year. Now, to replace Londynn Jones is a key transfer, Gianna Neepkins, the former University of Utah Ute, a spectacular player, shooter, much taller than Londynn Jones, can do just about everything on the court, would represent, I think, maybe a step up from Jones, maybe something different, another lethal weapon from downtown, and a scoring option for UCLA if they're trying to get the ball out of Kiki Rice's hands, out of the likes of Lauren Betts' hands, out of Charlize Ledger-Walker's hands. You got somebody who will be ready to roll in Janiah Neepkins. He's taken her visits to Oklahoma and Texas, took one a couple of days ago, I believe April 20th, to South Carolina. And the last visit of her 4 options in the transfer portal for Neepkins is to UCLA. Now, I'm not sure. This is all from Goodman of On3, Talia Goodman, for what she's been doing. Neepkins, is it to go to Oklahoma, Texas, between those former Big 12, now SEC rivals? Is it South Carolina, who's been getting just about everybody in the portal, or UCLA, where if you see, Londyn Jones is at USC. They need that extra shooter. They do have Tamia Gardner, but the Bruins need depth at scoring, at rebounding, more heights on the wing, and Neepkins will represent all of that, all, in my mind, while being a little bit closer to where she just played her college basketball year at Utah. Probably some familiarity with Corey Close, having gone against them in the last couple of years between Utah and UCLA when they were Pac-12 rivals. This seems like a perfect match and exactly what UCLA needs to put them over the top. Not that Londyn Jones couldn't have done something like that, but to get an upgrade and grow with UCLA now having a lot of spots open, this is the player they've been targeting. And the Bruins been able to go have a hosted pool party at Corey Close's house when these players are coming in. And they tend to seal the deal, with UCLA being the last one, and with Goodman's report from On3 saying the decision will come most likely by the end of maybe this week or in the next week or so. And as the portal's closing, not that that changes decision-making, but to enter the portal is one thing. Neepkins coming to UCLA would keep them as preseason number 1 overall. That would keep their preseason number 1 overall status. And you bring her here, that would, I think, turn UCLA, and not a guarantee. There's no guarantee in college basketball, injuries, recruitment, everything. That would add much needed depth to a roster that's lost a lot of it with its youth, with what's transferred out with Barker, with Londyn Jones. Neepkins comes to UCLA, man, that would be a huge get. It would be as if those couple of players did not even leave. That's how important Neepkins is, not only just to transfer to UCLA, but to make sure she's not going to Texas or Oklahoma, because Oklahoma's getting Aaliyah Chavez. Texas was a number 1 seed. South Carolina made it to the national championship game. It's just as important to improve your roster while making sure a player of this caliber doesn't go elsewhere. You're improving while making sure Dawn Staley doesn't get another, and she's already got one of the top players in the portal. You don't want to lose out of a player like this to one of those schools, because that's the difference of who's going to be scoring 15 to 18 points in that game. Neepkins, and it's where she's going to play, what legacy is going to establish. Is she going to help pursue and grow the coaching legacy of Dawn Staley, or can you be a Bruin for life, if you will, right? Can you become a UCLA Bruin, lead them promised land, and get them to their first national championship ever in the NCAA era of women's college basketball? Is that my pitch? Is that my plea? Maybe throw it out there. She'll make her own decision between opportunities, location, school, basketball, roster fit, NIL, certainly. But hey, it's coming down to the wire. And this could make a huge difference as to who is in the Final Four and who's winning the national championship in 25 and 26. I think UCLA better do their darndest to make sure she's coming to Westwood. But until then, like, comment, subscribe, download. This has been Locked On UCLA. Tell me your thoughts. And we can't wait till more drama, more recruiting, more practice, everything unfolds as we transition into the end of the spring sports season, end of the academic calendar year, end of the off season. You want to follow Locked On UCLA. Thanks for your support. Hands up, Bruins fans. 8 clap time, baby. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. UCLA. UCLA. Fight, fight, fight. This has been Locked On UCLA. Zach signing off. Go Bruins.